Don't want a lot for Christmas, just body autonomy.
I have not loved this conversation.
Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Amazing.
Nation, Waldorf Nation, TGIF, everybody, welcome to the show. We're going to have a fun one today. So it's Friday, fun Friday. We are going to indeed have some fun. We got a cringe video for you. You may have heard a little snippet of that. Anti-vaxxers outdoing themselves in the cringe every damn day. So we're going to have fun with that. We also have the rioter that is too white for jail. Yes, Miss Jenna Ryan. How's she doing? How's she doing? Well, we're going to check in. It appears that she is making some preparations. Fun. We also have, of course, racial discrimination story to talk about. You would think it's kind of a follow-up, but really, it's a bit of a trend that's happening. So we've got that. We also have Republicans that are in Georgia that are purging Democrats from positions of power over elections, which is the last place you want Republicans at, with the power of elections, especially in regards to black people. And then, of course, Christmas crime. Fox News thinks so. So we're going to talk about that as well. So fun times, serious stuff, the mix of serious and fun stuff as always on the show. By the way, today, earlier, we had the interview come out, less of an interview, more of a discussion with Farron Cousins over at Ring of Fire. That came out earlier today, and so that podcast is up over at Ring of Fire. Actually, let me see if I can link that to you all in the chat here. We're gonna try anyway. We're gonna try and link some stuff in the chat. We'll see if it works. So, all right, there we go. It's linked in the chat. Apparently not in the YouTube chat though. Connection in air. That's fine. We can relink here so you guys can get that a listen later on. Give us some feedback as well. You know, because I thought it was a pretty good discussion. So after the show, if you're interested, check that out. So with that said, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very important that you do so. Helps us out as always. Share, and share. Sharing is caring. Sharing is communism, and apparently we support that here, according to the right wing. Hey, some of you actually might support that, and that's totally fine. And then some of you might not. Awesome. So Occam's Taser says, "Hey, Occam's Taser, you're regular over at TYT on their Twitch stream. Welcome. Good to see you." Yeah, Farron, fantastic person to talk to, as usual. And so, by the way, also I'm working together with Humanist Report. We're going to do something a little special for him as well. A little bit of a project that he is putting together. I'm not going to give you the details on that, but yours truly will also be featured in it, as well as a lot of different people from around the internet. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So check that out. I'll check that out as well, and share it with you all. All right. With that all said, let's do it. Let's jump into the stories. Texas Realtor and life coach Jenna Ryan was recently sentenced to 60 days in jail for participating in the January 6th Capitol insurrection. Has decided to hit the books before going to jail. Why? Okay, on what? What is she studying? How to survive prison. Okay, that's interesting. Fun. Now, in an interview with Business Insider, Ryan says she's been studying up on prison culture. Let me just remind you, she's going to a minimum security prison. So, and she's going to be there for 60 days. Actually, no, for 48 days. Because she had been in pretrial detention. So, why do you need to study up on prison culture? That seems very strange. It also seems very white. Just saying. Now, in recent days, she had been talking about her plans for when she is incarcerated for that very, very long sentence of 2 months. In fact, on a video on TikTok she had posted, she told them, "I have to report to prison, and the only thing that I can see that's good about having to go to prison is that I'm going to be able to work out a lot and do a lot of yoga and detox." Oh, that sounds lovely. Very, very lovely. Wonderful, wonderful. It almost sounds like she's going to a camp. Like, oh yeah, it's going to be, technically jail, but also like I can center myself with my meditation. I don't know if they'll allow crystals in there, obviously. You don't need healing crystals. Got, faith in Trump or something. I don't know. All right, anyway. Now, in her interview with Business Insider, Ryan says that she's been watching YouTube videos about prison life and picking up slang that she thinks she will need to communicate with her cellmates. Or, as she calls them, bunkies. You know what? I'm gonna watch out. I'm gonna learn all the slang. I'm gonna come out hard with my bunkies. Oh, God. It gets worse. The cringe continues. It continues. All right. Now, she says, "I've been doing a lot of reading and research lately. I know that the general rules are you don't talk to anybody. You watch out who you talk to. You don't ask anybody what they did. It's just a totally different world. Minimum security. Minimum security." Good Lord. She then adds, "But since I'm also a life coach, I can imagine that I'll end up making some pretty genuine connections while I'm there." You're going to prison for, yes, it's minimum security for 2 months. How good of a life coach are you? Honestly. Really? You're a life coach. And you're like, oh, yeah, you know what? One of the lessons, don't insurrect. No, I don't even know if she would come out and say that. Because she obviously has no remorse about what she did at all. Again, you insurrected for Donald Trump. I wouldn't take advice on how to do anything for you or from you. I'm sorry. Never, never. Ryan also then says that she plans to keep her down, keep to herself. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Oh, you could have done that before, which is why you're in jail for the first part. Because, look, the judge was like, oh, probably willing to let it go because you were, not inside of the building during the riot. And so, you were parading, demonstrating. And a lot of people who were charged with the same thing ended up getting no jail time, probation, essentially. But where she messed up is she opened her goddamn mouth. And so what she said was something along the lines of, well, I'm not going to jail. I'm too white. I'm too pretty. I got a good job. I got a good career. I'll never go to jail. Oops. And she posted that. And the judge was like, well, now you are. Now you go to jail. Oh, can you imagine, too? She gets out after learning all the slang, and then she comes out, is all like, oh, I'm super hard. Kind of like, God, it makes me think of Family Guy. When Meg goes to prison and then comes out like super hard and scaring everybody, except that it won't be like that. It'll be much cringier, like she pretends to be a badass. I can see that. I can see it. White and blonde, thank you. Oh my God. The whole thing, incredibly cringy, so cringy. And she says, I'm probably going to be in a little lockdown area with what I would assume will be a bunkie. I'm learning all this new terminology, which, again, you will not need. Oh, but look at that. How precious. This is a learning experience. Oh, yes. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. In fact, here's probably about the whitest thing that I've ever read. Ryan says that she has been speaking with prison consultants about what to expect when serving, and admitted that because of her notoriety, she may have a rough time. So okay, I'll address the prison consultants here, because that's cringe. But here's what she said. I've watched all these videos about minimum security prison, and the main concern is not the other inmates, but that you're treated very, very cruelly by the guards. Oh, cruel. What? You can't get your, spa day? You can't get your mani-pedi? Is that what's going on? Again, this is essentially club fed. All right? That's about it. Not very, again, when you're looking at prison, right, it's still not a fun time. You're going to minimum security. You were the white collar criminals, right? The people who who made the mistake of, and it's the one mistake you can make in America, ripping rich people off as a wealthy white person. That's the only way you'll go to jail, as a wealthy white person. You rip other rich people off. You rob regular people. You run a bank and you rob billions of dollars from millions of customers. You're totally fine. You get a golden parachute. But you rob fellow rich people. Oh no, well that's a crime. We can't abide that. You're going away. You're going away for a long time. So come on. Oh, the guards. Oh, they're going to be so cruel to me. Give me a break. She says, I'm going to be treated poorly for 48 days. I may have people that try to run hustles on me, try to trick me. But you would know all about that. Donald Trump ran one of the biggest cons on her. One of the longest, most successful cons ever run on the right wing. Again, he got you to insurrect after robbing the government of billions of dollars, that the taxpayer, and put it back into his pockets. That's what he was able to do. And then he brags about it. So incredibly, openly corrupt this guy is. And you still don't see it. You still don't see it. Oh, I'm going to pay for to bail everybody out. I'm going to pay their legal bills if you go and do stuff for me. You're kidding me, right? Of course he didn't do that. Oh, I'm going to pardon everybody. What about Q Shaman? What about Miss Ellis here? Did you pardon anybody? No, you pardoned Steve Bannon because Steve Bannon is a crook, just like he is. No, ridiculous. Girl, you are going to have a rough time if you are that easily conned. You might have a rough time. Okay? But again, here's the thing. Club Fed. This is rich people jail. Not the same as poor people jail. They're not going to treat her badly. No. Not like somebody who's, for example, poor and black going into real prison. Okay? Black and poor people get treated horribly. For her, this will be a little bit of a vacation where she can meditate and detox, do a little yoga, and maybe gain a little muscle mass, because what else are you going to do? It is jail. But finally, let me get to one of the most ridiculous things, and reference this again. Prison consultants. Did she literally pay somebody to be a prison consultant? Come on. I mean, is she paying somebody to tell her how to survive minimum security prison? No way. No. If she is, again, has to be one of the dumbest people alive. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Anyway, for somebody who is asking, her sentence is 2 months, 60 days, of which she will serve 48. So, yeah, 2 months. All right. Speaking of cringe. Oh.
Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Okay, anyway. All right. Ooh. Let's move on. We got Christmas cringe. Or cringe-miss. That needs to be a segment. I wore on Christmas. What else am I getting? Yeah, maybe next year. Okay. All right. A woman only identified as Bridget recently did a pro-COVID rendition of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You during a San Diego County Board of Supervisors meeting. And I want to warn you, I'm going to show you the video. And look, the cringe is strong.
I don't want a lot for Christmas, just body autonomy. I don't care about the variants because of natural immunity. I just want my freedom now. The Constitution will show us how. Make my dreams come true. And the state of emergency and acknowledge early treatment. Ivermectin, not just horse paste, and hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C and vitamin D, then the zinc and quercetin. I won't wear a useless mask. I don't need to stay at home, and my kids should go to school. We don't need to be alone. I just want my freedom now. The Constitution will show us how. Make my dreams come true. Baby, I end the emergency. Let's have a happy holiday, everybody.
Oh, God. Oh, kill me now. Look. I had to listen to it. You had to listen to it. That's the deal. All right. I had to. So did you. that's so bad. Oh, good Lord. Ooh. I didn't think Christmas music could get worse. I am very unhappy to report that I was wrong. Wow. Just wow. Ooh. That's an atrocity. Mariah Carey should sue. Just for that. Dear God. I mean, wow. Okay. So now look, I feel like I need to salvage this segment by debunking some of the nonsense, okay? So let's do that. Okay. Look, natural immunity. Obviously, natural immunity only happens after you get COVID. It doesn't work on the variants. Now, of course, getting natural immunity means, again, you have to get COVID first. That can be deadly, damaging. Ivermectin, not a miracle drug, not for COVID at least. It's great for parasites and has saved a lot of lives for people infected with parasites. And so river blindness, won a Nobel Prize for fighting parasites. Not good for COVID, though. And so it does nothing for humans with COVID. In fact, the amount of ivermectin needed in order to destroy COVID cells, because again, it will, but you would need a lot of it. And that much ivermectin is actually harmful to the human body. So no, not good. Hydroxychloroquine, anti-malaria drug, again, great if you have malaria, not so good if you have COVID. Okay, masks, again, N95s, if you can get them, you should definitely get one of those if you're going to wear the mask, or you should get the vaccine. And by the way, if you don't want to stay home, that's the thing that you could do. You can get the vaccine. That's it. 2 doses, handles Delta variant, and reduces the likelihood of severe illness and death. You can get a booster too if you're worried about Omicron. That's free. Takes literally 5 minutes to get. It looks promising. Again, now Omicron. What's interesting about that is what we know so far is, and again, this could change the more we get to know about this. But so far, it seems like it might not cause as severe illness as the Delta variant, but happens to be more transmissible. And so, again, that could change the more we study it, the more we know. But here's the funny thing. That little performance, and by the way, this woman was practicing for how long? She practiced that at home in the mirror. I swear to God. She actually planned this entire thing out and thought, nailed it. Nailed it. But it wasn't even necessary. It just wasn't. In fact, look, most of her county's pandemic restrictions, she's in San Diego, they've already been lifted since June, and kids are back in school on a daily basis. So she, again, what is she even talking about? What restrictions are stopping her life? Likely, of course, the big requirement there in her county, in the city of, not city, but in the state of California, is, if you're unvaccinated, then you're required to wear a mask in a public building and at a public gathering. That's about it. That's the worst. Okay? And I'm guessing she's not vaccinated. I'm guessing she's, no, bodily autonomy. I don't want to get vaccinated. I want to put that in my body. So if you're not vaccinated, then you do have to wear a mask. That's part of the trade-off if you're in a public place. She says, no, that's oppression. Well, she's out there literally oppressing herself. She is the meme of the person putting the boot on their own face by refusing to get a vaccine. That's it. Again, it's absolutely ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Now, Michael Workman, a communications officer for San Diego County, told Newsweek that at this point in the emergency order that she is protesting against is pretty much a formality. But that most California Department of Public Health guidelines are being followed in that county. So that's it. So she could sit there and sing all day long. It wouldn't make a difference. They're still going to vote for it anyway because it's just a formality and they're going to follow it anyway. So it doesn't make any sense. But here's the thing, right? Look, you don't have a right to spread a virus knowingly to other people. Your right to bodily autonomy ends when it starts affecting the community around you. And that's it. And by the way, I'm also sick of the attempt to co-opt pro-choice language on reproductive rights with this nonsense. There are some big differences here. First, we are dealing with a contagious virus that spreads through the droplets in the air versus a fetus, okay, that's literally a part of your body until it becomes an independent life, in which then, once it becomes viable outside of the womb and an independent life, it gets bodily autonomy, it gets rights, constitutional rights. But not before then. Not before then. And so, again, the co-opting of the pro-choice language is ridiculous. And pregnancy is not contagious. That too, yes. And so, but look, isn't it ironic that these people call themselves pro-life? I mean, they do. They call themselves pro-life. Oh, until it affects them, of course. Again, how many pro-lifers have we done stories about that get abortions secretly, right? Or, you know, take their mistresses in secret to go get an abortion. How many pro-lifers defend the death penalty? Okay. How many pro-lifers defend the the killing of unarmed black men in this country or black people? They're not pro-life. They're not pro-life. No, what they are is pro-birth. And then they're also a pro-birth death cult. I mean, again, they dress up in, you know, little Santa hats and sing cringy songs and pretend to be oppressed while literally trying to oppress everyone else. First, you know, with trying to ban reproductive rights, voting rights, all that stuff. And while still, again, claiming to be a victim. Oh, and by the way, oppressing us with this virus that they continue to not try to protect themselves against, so that we have to go around them and still wear masks and do all this stuff. Now, these people are garbage. Okay. Moving on. Go to something a little bit serious. In fact, a couple of serious stories. A black California couple is suing an appraiser for using their race to give their home a lower value. So now, the results of this low appraisal actually cheated them, or would have cheated them, out of potentially $500,000 in home value. So now, this is the story of Northern California residents Tanisha Tay Austin and her husband. They recently went to have their home appraised after years of renovation. So now, over the, I believe over a 3-year period, they had actually added a deck, a gas fireplace, they remodeled the bathrooms, they added additional space to the home itself, making it bigger. And again, all of that time and effort. And by the way, you know, some of you who may own homes or may have owned homes before, you might know how expensive it is to actually do this work and how much effort and money it takes to renovate your house. And you do that, of course, to get more equity and to get more value into your home. They did that. In fact, Kate Austin said this: "We put a lot of time and effort into the house, and that did not happen overnight." And yet, this was appraised in 2019 at $900,000. So now, wait, you might think, whoa, crap. Well, now remember, this is California, so housing prices are insane. I get it. And so they asked for a second opinion last year in 2020. And when they did, a white friend pretended to own the home. They had removed their artwork and photos that could show that it actually might have belonged in to a black family. The new appraisal came in at a whopping $1.4 million. 900,000 in 2019 with a black family. White person pretends to live there. 1.4 million just a year later. Interesting. Very interesting. So, again, that's nearly $500,000 higher than the previous estimate. Now, have housing prices increased? Yeah, absolutely. By that much? No. No, not at all. This is clearly a case of the appraiser said, hey, black people live here. It must be valued lower. Now, Kate Austin spoke to CNN and said this, quote, what that appraisal did is what we were actually asking the appraisers to do, to not consider race, to not consider neighborhoods, and are the lines that have been drawn and perpetuated by redlining. So now, redlining, of course, let me give you a short little history of it. It's basically defined as a discriminatory practice that puts services, financial and otherwise, out of reach for residents of certain areas based on race and ethnicity. It can be seen in the systematic denial of mortgages, insurance, loans, and other financial services based on location and that area's history, rather than on an individual's qualifications and credit worthiness. The results of this practice led to homes in redlined neighborhoods, even up to today, being worth less than half of the homes of what the government had deemed in the 1930s as best for mortgage lending. So understand that they basically took these areas where black people lived and literally would draw a red line around them and say, either don't loan people in that area because that's a black area. We don't want, we don't want black people to get loans in this area, or we want the houses and homes that people own in those areas to be worth less, but just in that area because of that's where black people live. Now, and by the way, when they say best, they mean white. Because again, they would actually loan to low-income white people, but not to middle or upper-income black people until the practice of redlining was made illegal. So now, it is illegal currently. And so last week, the couple had filed a lawsuit in federal court in San Francisco, arguing that racial discrimination had played a role in the very low valuation of their home. The lawsuit, the Austins say, the first appraiser, Jeanette Miller, white woman, violated the Fair Housing Act when she took into account the family's race and racial demographics of the house's location for her appraisal. Paul Austin said this, the husband, quote, we shouldn't have had to go through this. We shouldn't have to have our white friend standing in. CNN reached out to Miller and her company, Miller and Parati Real Estate Appraisals, which has been named as a defendant in the suit multiple times for comment, and of course, no response. Obviously. The Austins are now asking for financial damages and for the court to permanently ensure that defendants will not engage in discriminatory housing practices directly or through others any longer. Now, the population, by the way, here's an interesting fact. When Miller appraised that home last year, the Austins said that she compared their home, which is in a majority white area, to those in areas with a significant black population. The population in Marin County, where the house is located, is more than 85% white. So there's absolutely no reason to go and make that comparison. None at all. You're living in a white area, okay, and you're living in an area with higher, home valuations. Why are you then going out of that area, out of that neighborhood, into somewhere where the homes are valued less? The only answer is racism. That's it. That's it. No reason to make that. But again, it's black people, obviously. Their home must be worth less. And that's it. Now, research has also shown that homes in largely black neighborhoods, and that's the other problem, right? So to even go and make that valuation, you had to have an issue where black homes are in black neighborhoods are just considered to be worth less than white homes in white neighborhoods. Again, regardless of the income, regardless of who lives there, the conditions of the home, etc., which I understand that you can go and make those appraisal values legally based on those situations, right? Or, based if you're living on a fault line or near a fault line or whatever, geographical location, all of that is totally legal. But when you go and say, no, the only criteria that I'm going to look at mainly is the fact that these people are black or if they're living in black neighborhoods. And that's it. The ratio of black people to white people is greater, and therefore we have determined and deemed that this area is worth less. And that is absolutely racist. Absolutely. But again, the major problem here is that she can even do that valuation because you have homes that are in largely black neighborhoods that are just valued less than homes in white areas. The fact that it even exists, right? And again, this is even when housing type and income of those areas are the same. In the average U.S. neighborhoods where the share of population is 50% black, homes are valued at roughly half the price of homes in neighborhoods with no black residents, according to recent research from the Brookings Institute. Homes in majority black neighborhoods in the U.S. have been undervalued by an average of $46,000 over nearly a decade, according to an analysis by Redfin. So again, they're not exactly taking into account California and New York housing prices, which are insane. 46,000 seems to be more like in rural areas and things like that, or small cities, but still, that's huge. Now the firm then looked at 73 million single-family homes enlisted and sold between January 2013 and February 2021, found a major gap between houses sold in black and white neighborhoods. So now, if you were thinking that racism doesn't exist, well, this is proof positive that it absolutely does, and that it touches on many different things in people's lives. You don't have to be walking around wearing a white hood and burning crosses in people's yards to be a racist. No, you could just be as simple as, I just don't think black people's homes should be worth this much. That's racist. It just is. And by the way, this ties in perfectly with critical race theory. Okay, this is why they should teach critical race theory in like high school. Now they currently do not, but it's an example of what they're talking about. Critical race theory, all it does is examine racist systems in this country and the effects that they have on minority populations. It's not to make white people feel bad and hate themselves. No, it's to teach them how this country has worked in the past. That's it. This is how things actually work. And by the way, again, not in K through 12 schools, but the right has taken the name critical race theory, and they've basically taken that and applied it to anything that really talks about African American history. And mainly to things that make racists uncomfortable. Because in this country, again, there has been an effort by racist people and groups to hide the truth about how black people have been treated in this country in order to try to, for one, disempower black people, keep them from rising up the economic ladders, okay, and gaining any sort of political or economic power. And not only that, but again, hide some of the terrible things that racist groups and people have done in the past. Because, I don't know, they're embarrassed. And they should be embarrassed, by the way, belonging to these groups. But also, and this is very important too, it also feeds the white grievance victimhood narrative. And that's going on all over the right wing. They claim, oh, no, we're the victims. We're actually the victims of racism. We're the actual victims of oppression, not black people. No, it's the white Christian male. The conservative, that is the real victim of. And that is the entire narrative that they are trying to go and perpetuate. And they are hiding all of the actual history in this country. They also do want to avoid paying reparations as well. And what form reparations come into doesn't really matter to them. they they oppose all forms of reparations for slavery and for Jim Crow, and the nonstop, constant racial attacks, even going down back to, as I said, redlining, denying people jobs based on their race, school to prison pipelines, and all of that. So it's disastrous. Now, this story, when I first read this story, it seemed familiar. Okay. And I thought that maybe I had talked about it before. And I'm like, I don't know. Then I realized that this isn't the only story that we've seen like this. There are other families that have concealed their race or identity because of this exact thing happening to them. And for example, in Indianapolis, a black woman previously told CNN that she did not reveal her race or gender on an application when arranging for an appraisal. She'd kept communication to email and told the appraiser that she would be out of town and that her brother would be at home during the appraisal. Her brother was actually a white friend who posed as her brother and met the appraiser instead of her. Now, the appraisal value, and this is her third appraisal, by the way, had doubled, more than doubled. It led her to file a fair housing complaint against the lenders and appraisers she had worked with for racial discrimination. And so there it is. There it is. The Austins knew of other families, black families, that this had happened to. And so they decided to take a chance at, quote unquote, whitewashing, that's what this is called, whitewashing their home, because they knew of the discrepancy of home appraisals. And they thought, wait a minute, this seemed a little low. Our appraiser, again, and they went out and normally they try to go through the process and like, seems rather low, especially after all the work that we've done to this. Why don't we go and check this out? Because unfortunately, we have heard of these situations where appraisers were racist and devalued your home. And turns out that's exactly what happened. They're not the first family. And they won't be the last family. I would imagine there are many Black Americans that are dealing with this and probably didn't even know about it. They didn't even know about it. In fact, the couple said that they just wanted to speak up to encourage other families of color to fight if they think their property is worth more. She said, he said, Paul Austin, quote, hopefully at the highest level, we can start seeing systemic change, people being held accountable for devaluing Black and brown lives, because that's essentially what they did to us. Absolutely. It's amazing to think that this stuff still happens in 2021, but it does. It does. All the declarations that you might hear and see of like, oh, racism, it's over. We're a much more evolved country when it comes to the issue of racial justice and all the people like, oh, Black Lives Matter, they're just complaining and the racism, it's not actually real. No, this is a perfect example of a systemic racist system that continues to devalue and keep down Black and brown people. And this is something that as a society have to fix. But of course, in order to fix it, we have to actually continue to acknowledge that it exists. Okay. Give racist. Bit of voter suppression. Georgia Republicans have recently conducted a purge of Black election board members in 6 different county boards. So now this is all across the state, and they have been reorganized in order to give Republicans power over elections. So now, recently, this had happened as a result of a Republican piece of legislation that allowed the Republican Party to expand its power over choosing members of local election boards ahead of the 2020 midterms. So, and how they did this, well, they used some pretty shady means, as Reuters explains. The unusual rash of restructurings follows the state's passage of Senate Bill 202, which restricted ballot access statewide and allowed the Republican-controlled state election board to assume control of county boards it deems to be underperforming. Interesting. So, yeah. Oh man, these counties, these are underperforming. Gee, I wonder which counties are referring to. Could it be counties that have black elections boards? And black counties that went to Joe Biden during the 2020 election? Maybe. So now, the Georgia restructurings, they explain. Oh, I'm sorry. Once in place, the board immediately launched a performance review of the Democratic-leading Fulton County Board, which oversees part of Atlanta, and replaced the majority black election board members with white Republicans. Georgia restructurings are part of a national Republican effort to expand control over election administration in the wake of Trump's false voter fraud claims. Republican-led states, such as Florida, Texas, and Arizona, have enacted new curbs on voter access this year. Backers of Trump's false stolen election claims are running campaigns for Secretary of State, the top election official in battleground states, and some Republicans in Wisconsin are seeking to eliminate the state's bipartisan election commission and threatening its members with prosecution. And so that's going on all over the state while this is going on in Georgia. So make no mistake, this is a right-wing takeover in order to try to end democracy, at least when it comes to black people. They are targeting the backbone of the Democratic Party, black voters. And of course, they're doing it because, for one, they can. and secondly, because Georgia had the audacity to put a Democrat in the White House and give them the Senate. So Georgia Republicans are like, no, we're not going to let that happen again. We're going to take over these boards. So now it's really important what these boards actually do. Let me get to those details. But first, here are the stakes, right? So now in 2022, Senator Raphael Warnock is up for re-election. That's going to be decided in Georgia. And of course, if Donald Trump runs in 2024, Georgia went to Biden election, it may very well now go to Donald Trump in 2024. And you also have a governor's race. You have Republican Brian Kemp, who's the incumbent, running against David Perdue in the primary. David Perdue, even more extreme than Brian Kemp. And whoever wins that ends up going against Stacey Abrams. So now let me give you more details into this, okay? So now the law has led to the restructuring of 5 different county boards. These are the counties of Troup, Morgan, Pickens, Stevens, and Lincoln, in which the legislature had shifted power to appoint some or all election board members to local county commissioners. All of those county commissioners are controlled by Republicans, of course. Now, previously, the appointments had been split evenly between the local Democratic and Republican parties, sometimes with other local entities holding other appointments. Sometimes they're bipartisan, sometimes they're nonpartisan. And so that old system was actually supposed to ensure that it was politically balanced, or at least nonpartisan, so that they can go and make these rules, right? Now, unfortunately, Republicans didn't like that because, well, sometimes they lose. And not all the time, by the way. Sometimes Democrats lose under that system. But the Republicans looked at this and decided, no, unacceptable. We're just going to rig the rules so that we never, ever lose again. And that's fascism. That when they lose, they usurp power. We have never seen that happen before when it comes to Democrats. And again, this is despite the Republicans always accusing the other party of being libertarians and shoving things down their throats. Oh, yeah. No, it's all projection. And that's what it's always been. No, so now that's 5 counties. There were actually changes in 6 counties. So in the 6 counties, Spalding Parties still choose the 2 members each. Now, they're kind of going with the old system, but with one big change. The 5th member will now be chosen by local judges. So it used to be, and we see this system, it's just to show you how weird and old some of this stuff is. It was actually decided by a coin toss. I know, it's very strange, right? Instead of a coin toss, now it's local judges. The only problem is, of course, these judges are politically conservative. And guess what they did? They appointed a white Republican to replace a black Democrat on the election board, giving Republicans a 3-2 majority. And of course, again, at least the coin flip system was random. Like, oh, sometimes you get a Republican, sometimes you get a Democrat. In this case, they're like, no, we're just going to not leave anything to chance. We're just going to appoint a Republican. And that's it. Sad for you, we are now taking control. And they can do whatever they want since they have that majority. In Morgan County, for example, the majority Republican County Commission reconstituted its election board, ousting 2 outspoken black Democrats. In Troup County, a black Democratic member claims the board shakeup was aimed at ousting her after she had fought to increase voting access. Now, Reuters, to be fair, could not determine the exact split of Democrats and Republicans in the 5 counties that handed control of the county commissioners before and after the restructurings, and that's because party affiliation is not public information in Georgia. The board representatives declined to identify their allegiances. But how this will have an impact on the midterm elections and future presidential elections, well, that's important. See, the county election boards have broad authority over voter access, polling locations, early voting procedures, and have considerable sway over post-election provisional ballot tallies, audits, and recounts. So the reconstituted boards in 2 of the 6 counties have already moved to restrict voting access very, very quickly. And in addition to Spalding's termination of Sunday voting, that's another thing, by the way, souls to the polls. You might have heard that before. Sunday voting is a way where, African Americans, or basically anybody, churches, for example, they'll do souls to the polls. They'll, get people together and they'll go to the voting booth. Now, that's a huge staple in African American community, right? Now, you would think the Republicans wouldn't have a problem with that. Like, we do all this stuff in church. We tell people how to vote all the time, and all that stuff. Well, here's the thing, right? So, what Republicans do on that generally could be considered to be, oh, you're doing pay to play, right? As far as like, you are using your religious identity, you're using your church, whatever, get in politics, and therefore you should pay your taxes, right? Now, what's different about this for black communities is that you have these black communities that just do organizing and say, look, we don't care who you vote for. We're just going to help you get to the polls. We're going to give you access to the polls, right? Whereas the conservative churches don't actually do that because they don't necessarily need to. Everybody generally has access to the polls already. Living in white neighborhoods, there's normally no giant lines, no voter suppression in those areas, et cetera, et cetera. And so there is that big difference there. Okay. Now, the other thing too is we don't have a national voting holiday in this country. It's on a work day. So that's already a gigantic roadblock for people who want to go and vote. Like, I don't know. I don't get the day off. I can't afford to miss a day of work, or my boss won't let me go. And so what am I going to do? I guess I'm just not going to vote. Sunday voting was there to try to, do something. Like, hey, we do want to expand the franchise. We do want more people to vote. So let's give them something. Let's allow them to at least vote on Sunday. No, not anymore. Not in Spalding County. Not going to happen. By the way, Lincoln County also proposed consolidating 7 precincts into 1. So doing, again, gerrymandering, right? That would, of course, critics say that would discourage voting by people traveling in from remote areas, which could, by the way, also hurt conservative voters who tend to live in more rural areas. So, I mean, and by the way, in that same county, the new law also removes appointments by political parties and gives the Republican-led county commission discretion to appoint the board's 3-member majority. County Republicans say the changes are meant to comply with the 2018 state Supreme Court ruling, which dictates that private entities cannot appoint members to government bodies. However, that decision only involves Board of Ethics, not elections, and many other Georgia counties continue to allow political party appointments to the election boards. Back in Spalding, the board's new chair is a Republican named Ben Johnson. Social media, just to show you who they're appointing to the boards and why it matters so much, because it's not just normal Republicans. Here you have a guy whose social media is filled with posts endorsing Trump's big lie, that the election was rigged, that the election was stolen. In fact, Johnson actually refused to even answer questions about whether he thinks Biden is the actual president. So, yeah. That's who's running the county's elections now. Understand that this is a power grab. It is. Again, once these black Democrats are in the minority when it comes to these boards, which we've seen, Republicans, they're going to ram through whatever change they want. And these changes always end up disenfranchising certain voters. And also, if they don't like the way the elections go, well, they now will also have the power to attempt to overturn them. So it's even worse. Everybody, this is what fascism looks like. This is a takeover. While cable news is out to lunch talking about Biden, Harris, and constantly covering for Joe Manchin, for example, and doing endless misleading stories about inflation, Republicans in Georgia are doing this. That's it. This is a complete takeover to make sure the Democrats never win in Georgia under any circumstances. And if you think it's only going to be in Georgia, I got news for you. If it works there, why wouldn't it work in Michigan? Why wouldn't it work in Pennsylvania? Why wouldn't it work in Wisconsin? Why wouldn't it work in any of these other places? The answer is it will if you allow them to do it. This is why we need a voting rights bill. And once again, the Democrats are not pushing this, are not doing their job and doing everything they can to protect the vote and to expand voting rights. All right. One more story here. Let's end on a fun note. The last 2 stories are pretty disastrous. Fox News is claiming that they're a victim of a holiday hate crime. It means it's time for another report more on Christmas.
Over the years, we've taken on the role of protecting the federal holiday of Christmas.
They don't use the word Christmas because it's not politically correct.
There are some Americans who are offended by any reference to Jesus Christ.
Do you realize that Starbucks wanted to take Christ and Christmas off of their brand new cups? That's why they're just plain red.
They'll say Happy New Year, they'll say other things.
In fact, do you realize that Starbucks isn't allowed to say Merry Christmas to customers?
There's a full-out war on faith in this country by the other side.
We're saying Merry Christmas again.
Over the last few days, Fox hosts have been responding to the news about a Fox News Christmas tree getting set on fire by a homeless man. Now, this is following the arson caused by Craig Tamanaha, who has a history of mental illness and addiction struggles, along with a record of minor arrests for petty crimes. The brain geniuses over at Fox and Friends decided that they would label this as a hate crime, not only against Fox News, but maybe baby Jesus himself. Take a look.
But the judge could have found a way to keep him locked up if he felt as though he was a threat to society. Note to judge, he's a threat to society.
Well, here's the thing. In New York, under the new liberal policies of bail reform, arson is only a felony. You can only be held if it's a felony if the suspect tries to harm a person or commits a hate crime. And apparently lighting a Christmas tree on fire is not a hate crime.
But it is.
Even though a lot of people could have been injured?
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Who says it's not a hate crime against us, against Fox News?
Here's the thing. What we do know for sure, and we don't know the guy's motivation.
But the judge could ask and be under suspicion and keep him locked up.
Well, he might have. But here's what we do know. According to the New York Post, which is co-owned with us, that Christmas tree was $500,000.
I know.
So this guy torches $500,000 worth of property, and he gets to walk.
Okay, there's no way that piece of plastic was worth $500,000. Come on. But I love this. We're a victim of a hate. Oh my God, a hate crime. That's not what a hate crime is. I mean, sure, arson, of course, it's a crime. But is it a hate crime? No. But you know what? You ask them, and they're like, well, I hated it. Look, here's what a hate crime is, okay? A hate crime is defined as an offense motivated by a bias against a race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. Is Fox News any of those things? Does Fox News have a gender identity? Really? Are they a religion? Well, I guess maybe to some people they are. No, they're a corporation. Oh, but you don't understand, Jeff. Corporations are people. Oh, okay, yes. No. Ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Look, the guy's homeless. He doesn't have a TV. I very much doubt that he cared about Fox News, okay? The guy was probably intoxicated and felt like setting something on fire. This is not a normal person, okay? This is a person who's got a lot of issues, all right? He's got a lot of issues. But we don't know the motive here. And so, yes, it is a crime. It is arson, but it's not a hate crime. It's not. Is he a dangerous individual? Maybe if you're a tree. I don't know. Obviously, the guy needs some mental health care. Normal people don't go around setting trees on fire, drunk or not. There's obviously something wrong with him. But again, we have laws. We have laws here. Okay? Again, calling this a hate crime, super ridiculous. Besides, I thought Fox News didn't believe in hate crimes. I thought, you asked them, they don't exist. For example, they got mad when the Charleston shooting, in which 9 people were murdered by racist Dylan Roof, who hated black people. They got mad when CNN called that a hate crime. They got mad. And now, they're saying that the Fox News tree, that's the hate crime. Oh, it's a hate crime. But it actually gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. Tucker Carlson's going to weigh in. And it's as bad. It's going to be as bad as you think.
Torching Christmas trees is an attack on Christianity. Obviously, it's an assault on religious observance. By current standards, destroying someone's religious symbol would be called a hate crime. That's a category much beloved and meticulously chronicled by the Biden Justice Department. The DOJ can tell you precisely how many Qurans were burned last year in the United States, but they don't keep track of Christmas trees. Why is that?
Okay. Well, I mean, torching Christmas trees is an attack on Christianity. Obviously. No, not obviously. No. And then he goes, oh, well, why is that? Why is that? Because we don't see burning Christmas trees all the time. That's why. This is the first one I've ever seen. The first time I've ever seen somebody do an arson of a Christmas tree. Whereas, of course, you do see a lot of people burning Qurans. You do see a lot of hate against Muslim Americans or against Muslims coming into the country, against immigrants. In fact, Tucker Carlson himself always rails against immigrants, calls them dirty, disgusting, filthy people that are trying to come into the country to get a better life. Get out of here with that bullshit. Oh my God. Oh, but you know, it's the Christmas tree. It's a religious symbol now. And there, one had burnt down, so that's obviously a hate crime. Why aren't we tracking this? Why aren't we tracking the rash of Christmas tree burnings? Really? Because it's not happening. It's one Christmas tree. And again, from a random drunk homeless person who needs help. Dear God, man, they are really milking this. We really, really are. Holy shit. Now there's some irony here, right? So he talks about burning religious symbols. Well, Christianity, that's the cross. Now, is there a group that you know that's going around there burning religious imagery? Like maybe, I don't know, crosses? Have you heard of such a group that would burn a cross? I mean, serious. I mean, I don't know. Oh, wait. Yes, we have. And they're on the same side as Tucker Carlson. They love Tucker Carlson because they're white nationalists, and that's who Tucker Carlson is. All right? Again, the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan, would go around and burn crosses in black people's yards to scare them. Yeah, all right. But again, they're in favor of the Klan. People like Tucker Carlson idolize the Klan, and they're white nationalists. You want to talk about irony. And by the way, you know, look, I don't even consider a Christmas tree to be a religious symbol. It's a tree. And again, it was adopted from paganism. It's a pagan tradition adopted into Christianity. And again, I don't think you call something that you put out or that you pull out once a year, decorate it, and then throw it in the garbage a religious symbol. That's just me. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of Christians that don't even care to put up a tree, and some do, some don't. That's fine. And some atheists will put up their own tree. Again, ridiculous, right? But here's the thing. His argument might have some merit, might carry a little bit of weight if it were another religious symbol that had burnt down. For example, a church. That's a pretty big religion, right? A church or mosque, in this case. Or, you know, maybe a cross, as I just mentioned. Or, you know, a picture of Jesus or a statue of Jesus or something. Hell, even a nativity scene. That would be a hate crime. Nativity scene. If you set a nativity scene on fire, it's probably you're mad at baby Jesus. All right? Now, here's the thing, though. Two of those things have already been done. By who? White Christians. White Christian racists did that to black people. There is an ugly race, history of racism in this country that involved burning down black churches, black Christian churches, and putting flaming crosses in their yards. So, I mean, is there any sort of irony? I swear to God, this is why history actually should matter. Why we should actually teach the history of this. That's why critical race theory matters. But, you know, Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson is flatly wrong. Wrong again. It's not a hate crime. There's no proof that this tree arson, which is a crime, but it's no evidence that there is a specific prejudice by this man. There just isn't. The facts just are not there. Now, if they do come out and he says, oh, yeah, I do hate Fox News, I think they're super conservative, whatever, then, okay, you could say, well, there's a motive. I still don't know if it would be a hate crime, but still, okay, there would be a specific motive there. But it's just ridiculous. But here's the thing, the bottom line on this. Facts aren't going to stop Fox News from fear-mongering to the perpetually scared audience of 70-plus-year-olds who yearn to scream about a crumb of oppression. Please, can I have just a little bit of fake oppression? I don't want real oppression. I just want the fake oppression so that I can cry about it. The fact is that this group of people are actually the most economically advantaged and overrepresented group in our government. If you look at our government, what does it mean? It consisted mostly of old white people. Old white people in government. Right? Media. Who runs most of the media? Old white people. That's it. They're so overrepresented, so saturated. You look on YouTube, everybody looks like me, but with hair. You know, where are the black creators? Not a lot of them. There's a few of them, but not a lot. I mean, again, super, super overrepresented, and yet still continue to claim to be victims. Of course. And that Fox News continues to allow that, narrative of victimhood to perpetuate. Ridiculous. All right. Hey, that's all we got today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Please give us a like if you haven't already. A like and a share. Check out our videos. Check out the interview or the discussion he did with Farron Cousins on Ring of Fire. That's, again, it was a lot of fun. Please do that. Check that out. Like and share our videos. Let me go here. And by the way, the Black Democrats purge in Georgia story sent in by a viewer. So I just want to thank Dango Mango for sending me that. You don't trust me, I paid attention to tweets. I did the story ideas, so I appreciate that. Let's check on super chats here. Oh, I didn't even. I did not even have that up. Oh, bad. Sad baby. All right. For chats here. The Glass Sword, with a very kind $5, says, I've given up trying to convince you to vaccinate. Try. At this point, I'm just going to figure it out. Hey, I understand. I get it. Scalistic says, great show. Scalistic. Appreciate all the love in the chat. Really. Madi Darno, imagine a society without prejudice. Wonderful. Here. New on Twitch. Fine. All right. So thank you for all the very kind chats and all the messages. If you want to support the show, again, subscribe. You can share the videos. I'm a patron, patreon.com/WolfNation, all that stuff. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. We get some. All right, everybody. Thank you all. Love you, and have a fantastic weekend. Take care.
There's some whores in this house.
Please clap. They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.